The Anybody But Shedeur campaign mobsters featuring Mary Kay Cabot, starring her. And then, we got the Jason Lloyds and Anthony Limas of the world who are also a part of the Anybody But Shedeur Sanders campaign. They are feeling it in the worst way, as it is clear. It is abundantly clear that the Cleveland Browns are moving forward with Shedeur Sanders as QB1, the starting quarterback of the team. Mary Kay Cabot, not happy about it, as she was on 92.3, The Fan, with Earl the Pearl. We got to get into this, man. The Anybody But Shedeur committee burns on fire. Welcome to Keep the Vision. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share the channel, hit that bell notification, and hype the video. Let's get right into it. So we know Mary Kay Cabot is one of the people who have been pushing this Anybody But Shedeur idea before day one, before training camp day, before any of that. She was one of the people that said, hey, we don't need to see him play. He can play elsewhere, all of this stuff. She was one of the people that never wanted him to get a shot. Now it's here, and he's going to be the starting quarterback of this team, and they have been forced to face reality. Let's take a listen.
Mary Kay, Andrew Berry mentioned at the Combine that they probably will be less active in terms of their pre-draft work they'll do on this quarterback class, just based off the class itself, but also where they're drafting this year. And I know you've written and talked about this already. We know they've expressed at least some interest in Ty Simpson, and everyone's been talking about that lately. And obviously they had him in for a top 30 visit this week. But how motivated do you think the Browns will be to add a quarterback through that method, through the draft this offseason?
Well, I think they will look at them all very closely, and they will continue to do their diligence. But I think that if they draft a quarterback this year, it will be more of a developmental guy and not somebody that is designed to come in here and take the place of Shedeur Sanders. I think they're really excited about Shedeur. They've told us that they're excited about Shedeur. So I just don't think that the priority right now is for them to go find someone who will overtake him this camp. I do think that they are intrigued and they like Ty Simpson, but you have to do that kind of due diligence on him because they have 6, 24, and 39. And when a guy's market starts to set itself in the draft, you have to be ready to go. So even though I don't think that they will take him at number 6, they are looking at him there just to decide if they think that he would be worthy of that pick. But once if he starts to fall a little bit, then you want to be ready to pull the trigger if it makes sense.
Yeah, so based off of that, and the understanding that it seems like they maybe do want to just sort of see Shedeur through and what he brings to the table and maybe not bringing in somebody that would overtake him, like you mentioned, do you think it's more likely, Mary Kay, that they would sign a veteran quarterback or that they would maybe draft somebody, like you said, who's a developmental piece that Tomlin can kind of get his hands on and play the quarterback position that way? Because we know they're going to add at least one more to that group.
Yeah, it's hard to say. If they do add a veteran, I think it would be a younger guy that will have some upside potential and could do something for them down the road. And if they do something like that, and I wrote this in one of my stories recently, that, if they bring in another guy, then I think they would be open to trading Dylan Gabriel. So, I think that's something to watch for over the next week. If they can get something for Dylan, maybe they've seen enough of him. And, maybe Todd Monken has seen enough of him and, what his scheme would be for a guy like that to maybe, that they would consider moving him. In that scenario, then you maybe go out and find another developmental guy. Maybe you draft, a Drew Eller or a Cade Klubnik or whatever, somebody from a later round in this draft.
Mary Kay, so the salary cap for the 2026 season is about $300 million. And, of course, you wrote about Deshaun Watson, Denzel Ward, both getting their contracts restructured. You look abroad, a guy like Patrick Mahomes, for example, I think he's had his contract restructured every year for the last 3 or 4 years. How smart are these GMs? And when I say this, it's like, okay, you see this a lot now. They know the salary cap is going to continue to increase, and they pretty much know beforehand, I'm just going to restructure this and keep kicking the money down the road. How long has this been a thing that has become more relevant throughout the NFL? And it's almost like these GMs know what's coming, and they know that they're going to be able at all times to create salary cap room for themselves to be able to make moves?
Well, I think the Browns were one of the first teams or one of the early teams into the restructuring space where they would give a guy a big restructure bonus from his base salary and then lower that base to the veteran minimum of 1.255, which is for a veteran who has played 7 years or more right now. So they were doing that, it seemed to me, a little earlier than other teams. And now it seems like everybody's on the bandwagon of doing that and seeing the wisdom in that. And it does correspond to the salary cap increasing significantly year by year so that you can afford to do some things down the road that maybe would be a burden right now. So they are masters at doing it. And I still think that there might be another restructure for Denzel Ward, because so far they really haven't done the significant restructuring for him yet. And they can save themselves a significant amount of cap money if they do him as well. Or maybe they're going to keep that one in their back pocket for a little bit and see if they need it. They're good at it. They're good capologists, and it's helped them try to add good talent to the team over the past few years.
Along those lines, Mary Kay, with the cap flexibility they've obviously created, and Andrew Berry talked about this at the Combine as well, the idea that, you know, they can probably be a little more aggressive this year than last year, but that their big, more aggressive moves probably won't come for another offseason or so. So if the Browns have like one big splash move in them in terms of like signing a big name, where do you think that move would maybe come in terms of like position?
Well, once again, I think it's kind of obvious, actually, that you really do have to look at offensive line and receiver. You're not going to be able to draft of course they got Titus. You're not going to be able to draft every offensive lineman that you need if you want to play good football this year. That would be way too much transition, way too many young guys. So I think that, if anything, it would be another offensive lineman coming in here or possibly a receiver. And again, I'm lumping together trades and free agency because it's really just, kind of two sides of the same coin in some respects. So acquiring a veteran offensive lineman or an offensive or a receiver would probably be two of the highest priorities.
Mary Kay, you heard the offensive coordinator, special teams coach, and defensive coordinator speak for the first time this week. What was your biggest takeaway from hearing those guys?
Well, I think my biggest takeaway from Mike Rutenberg was the fact that I really do believe that in order to ease the loss or the departure of Jim Schwartz, they had to make a big play. And boy, does that guy have a big personality, right? I mean, he packs a wallop